the dictator of Tomania, the conqueror of Austerlitz, the future emperor of the world. Speak. I can't. You must. It's our only hope.
And what, do you ask, does this number mean in the grand scheme of things? Alright, so let's say that this timeline represents how long humans have been on Earth. This dot represents where human DNA can first be tracked. It's about 7 million years ago. And that dot could represent when the pyramids were built. It's about 2,500 years BC. And this dot represents the rise and fall of Greek and Roman civilizations, about 2,000 years BC. And this last dot would represent roughly the past 2,000 years. This dot represents year 0, and also the birth of many religions. This represents year 1492, when Columbus discovered America. This dot represents the start of the 1500s, around the time when the Notre Dame was built. Here's the time when the United States first became its own country. And this last dot represents present day, or what we have as any known living memory to man.
This timeline represents 113 years. To date, our oldest living ancestors come from no earlier than 1898. This is the history as our civilization knows it. Early 1900s, a decade of European militarism at its rise. World War I broke out, industrial marvels like the Titanic and Model T were introduced. Alfred Wegener puts forward his theory on continental drift. The Roaring Twenties. For the US, urbanization started, and now urban areas outpopulated rural areas. The rise of political parties, including women's suffrage movements, and communism rose. Prohibition took place, Art Deco was introduced, and the stock market rose then fell. 1930s. The economic downfall had a traumatic effect worldwide. The proliferation of new technologies in aviation, radio, and film. The Dust Bowl, Hindenburg disaster, Wizard of Oz was released, and the rise of the Nazi Party. The 1940s, Pearl Harbor and the US response with the atomic bomb in World War II. The world was also introduced to Velcro, the microwave, quantum theory, and the first general-purpose computer, about the size of a house now. When World War II ends, the Cold War rises. The clashes between communism and capitalism dominated the 1950s. The space race and the launch of Sputnik. The beginning of decolonization in Africa. The US gets Alaska, Hawaii, Elvis, and Marilyn Monroe, and pop art. The 1960s started the Vietnam War, a time period of counterculture and revolution. Racial desegregation in schools, public places, and employment. Apollo 2 landed, 8-track tapes introduced, and The Sound of Music was also produced. A pivotal change, Margaret Thatcher became the UK's first Prime Minister. Argentina also elected their first female president. The World Trade Center was erected, and the world was introduced to the calculator, Star Wars, and a new oil crisis that took place. Start of a new decade, start of a new war. The Iraq War rose, and the Berlin Wall fell. Industrializing economies pushed forward, and the world now grew a smaller place with accessible TVs and the personal use computer. Madonna and Michael Jackson rose to stardom. Progress in some places, decline in others. The Rwanda genocide in Africa, the Hubble telescope giving us the most detailed photos of our own planet ever, and an emergence of grunge, rave scene, and hip-hop spread across the country and world, aided by the new World Wide Web. 2001, the turn of the century into new millennium. Terrorism attacks on our own soil, and in response, action in the Middle East as US troops went off to the Afghan war. The economic recession hit, while handheld technology was at a new high, causing new social media and advertising. Obama becomes the first black president, and swine flu kills 18,000 people worldwide. We now stand socially and politically at a pivotal place for gay rights, with it becoming more present in the media and pop culture. And this is 100 years out of 7 million.
And what these past 100 years look like on this timeline? Oh shit, you disappeared.
I read of a man who stood to speak at the funeral of a friend. He referred to the dates on her tombstone from the beginning to the end. He noted that first came the date of her birth and spoke of the following date with tears, but he said what mattered most of all was the dash between those years. For that dash represents all the time that she spent alive on earth, and now only those who loved her know what that little line is worth. For it matters not how much we own, the cars, the house, the cash. What matters is how we live and love and how we spend our dash. So think about this long and hard. Are there things you'd like to change? For you never know how much time is left that can still be rearranged. If we could just slow down enough to consider what's true and real, and always try to understand the way other people feel, and be less quick to anger and show appreciation more, and love the people in our lives like we've never loved before. If we treat each other with respect and more often wear a smile, remembering what this special dash might only last a little while. So when your eulogy is being read, with your life's actions to rehash, would you be proud of the things they say about how you spent your dash?
Our knowledge has made us cynical, our cleverness hard and unkind. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity. More than cleverness, we need kindness.
All of the Africans, not only Africans, but the Asians and the Muslims, look upon us as their long-lost brothers. And America had actually tricked many of them into a hands-off policy by giving them the impression that she was honestly trying to do something to solve the problem.
We are the ones coming up in the world, and we must continue to push this movement forward and close the gap.
Because equality is not a concept. It's not something we should be striving for. It's a necessity. Equality is like gravity. We need it to stand on this earth as men and women.
Certainly, we will work with any groups, organizations, or leaders in any way, as long as it's genuinely designed to get results.
Obama, I know that you're listening. Are you listening?
And the misogyny that is in every culture is not a true part of the human condition. It is life out of balance, and that imbalance is sucking something out of the soul of every man and woman who's confronted with it.
They haven't even got integration right here in New York City. You have worse integration problems in the North than they have in the South.
They say that this country is free, and they say that this country is equal, but it is not equal if it's sometimes. We will continue to push you and your administration